The air was still. The city slept. But in a quiet government compound in Ouagadougou, Captain Ibrahim Traoré sat alone in a dimly lit room, the clock flashing 2:01 a.m. 10 African presidents had joined the encrypted call. Their faces appeared one by one, somber, alert, tired, but determined. Traoré spoke first. "There's something you all need to know," he said quietly, eyes heavy with responsibility. "I received a classified report from an insider. A major Western power has launched Operation Phoenix, a long-term plan to infiltrate our ministries, collapse our economies from within, and recolonize Africa through aid." Murmurs filled the call. "Documents, voice notes, names. I have them all. I'll share the files now." He clicked. The data began transferring. But in another part of the world, someone was watching. An unknown signal silently pinged into the encrypted channel. Traoré glanced at the screen. A flicker, a tiny symbol in the corner. He knew. The call had been breached, and it was already too late. Washington, London, Brussels, all suddenly awake. Within 7 minutes, a 46-second clip from the secret 2 a.m. call appeared on an anonymous Telegram channel called Truthwire 77, then reposted on X, then on TikTok. Within 90 minutes, it had 12 million views. The video, Traoré, eyes filled with fire, saying these exact words: "Africa is not weak, we are not children, and we will not sell our souls for infrastructure and lies." The room he sat in was dark, but his voice pierced through screens across the globe. Panic followed. CNN. What exactly are these African leaders hiding? Sky News. Who leaked this call, and why now? In Africa, celebration. People cried in the streets. Finally, someone had said it. But in Paris, a man in a gray suit stared at his laptop. He whispered, "Shut it down." That same night, the Minister of Technology in Burkina Faso vanished. No one knew where he went. And Traoré? He stood at his balcony, arms crossed. He had 24 hours to make a decision that could tear Africa apart, or bring it closer than ever before. By sunrise, the leaked video had spread to every corner of the earth. But something unexpected happened. In a dusty village in Mali, a woman named Aïcha, a widow who lost her son in a protest for clean water, wiped her tears and said, "Traoré speaks for our children." She walked outside with her broken sandals. Others followed her. Mothers, grandmothers, even little girls. They walked toward the nearest city. No banners, no microphones, just silence. In Congo, in Ghana, in Chad, the same thing happened. Women began marching. Reporters called it the March of the Forgotten. Traoré, watching the footage, wiped his eyes. He whispered, This is what they're afraid of." His security advisor entered. "Sir, intelligence says there's a bounty on your head. A group of foreign mercenaries have entered West Africa. The leak wasn't an accident." Outside, a small boy held a handwritten sign. "Don't touch Traoré, he is our father now." But the walls were closing in, and one African president was secretly planning to betray them all. By noon, international flights into Ouagadougou were suspended. African leaders went silent. WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, all flooded. The public didn't know this, but inside the presidential group chat, one name had gone gray. The president of Namibia had vanished from the thread. Traoré stared at the screen. A chill swept over him. Then it happened. Traoré's own encrypted tablet was accessed remotely. They found spyware, planted weeks ago. It had tracked his voice, his screen, even his heartbeat. Only someone on the call could have installed this, his security advisor whispered. Someone inside the circle had betrayed them. But Traoré didn't explode in anger. He did something far more dangerous. He went quiet. Quiet was where his enemies panicked. That afternoon, a voice note from the Namibian president leaked. He was heard laughing with an American diplomat. Traoré still believes Africa can be free. He's a child playing war. The comment broke the hearts of millions. That night, graffiti spread across Africa's cities like fire. We are all Traoré now. And somewhere in Burkina Faso, a young girl was writing a letter, one that would later change everything. Her name was Mariama. She was only 9. She lived in a refugee shelter just outside Kaya. Her father had been missing for months, taken during a protest for clean drinking water. She didn't know about governments or betrayal, but she had seen Traoré on the small TV in the shelter. He reminded her of her dad, so she picked up a piece of cardboard and wrote, "Dear Captain Traoré, I know you're sad, but you're not alone. Please don't give up. You fight for people like my papa. I pray for you every night. Love, Mariama." A volunteer saw it, took a photo, posted it with the caption, "She believes in him. Do you?" The photo went viral in under an hour. By midnight, international news outlets dropped their spin. For once, they showed a child's message, not politics, not oil. Traoré's staff brought the printed letter to him. He stared at it for a long time. Then he stood, and for the first time since the leak, he said just 4 words. "We speak tomorrow. All." The next morning, the skies over Africa were silent, but hearts were loud. A call was sent to every African embassy. A live broadcast was planned, but it was more than a speech. It was a pledge. From Zimbabwe to Algeria, leaders began to whisper to their aides, "If Traoré stands, maybe, just maybe, we stand too." Traoré walked into the state broadcast studio. No script, no lights, just truth. He faced the camera and said, "To the powers watching, Africa is not yours to manage. To the youth marching, I see you. To the mother in tears, I fight because your pain has no flag. We will not kneel to loans wrapped in chains. We will not smile for cameras while our villages die dry." As he spoke, social media platforms glitched across Africa. Some claimed cyber attacks. Others said the truth was too heavy for servers. But the message still reached them. In a school in Uganda, children clapped. In a cafe in Nigeria, grown men wept. And in a hidden office in Washington, someone whispered, "Why didn't we stop him sooner?" The live broadcast had ended, but the echo of Traoré's words refused to fade. Across global newsrooms, silence fell, not because they agreed, but because they didn't expect him to speak at all. Western media scrambled for a new spin. He's emotional. He's anti-progress. He's isolating Africa. But the people of Africa saw something else, a protector, a voice they were never supposed to hear. In Ethiopia, university students shut down a lecture and chanted Traoré's name. In South Africa, ex-soldiers marched quietly in his honor, some of them wearing old uniforms that hadn't seen daylight in 20 years. But Traoré didn't celebrate. Instead, he gathered the names of every journalist who had vanished while covering corruption in Africa. He made a wall of their faces, and he whispered, "Let them be seen now." That night, his chief of intelligence rushed in. "Sir, the spyware was traced." "Where?" Traoré asked. The answer came with a single word: Dakar. Someone from inside the African Union had handed over the call, and they were planning a second strike. At exactly 11 a.m., a private jet from Europe landed at Ouagadougou's military base. Out stepped a man in a navy blue suit, no flag on his badge, no name on his case. He said he was an ambassador. He asked for one thing: a private meeting with Captain Traoré. Inside the war room, Traoré sat alone. He offered no handshake. The man didn't smile. He simply said, "Withdraw your statements. Stop talking about this Operation Phoenix. We'll make it worth your while." Traoré didn't blink. "You want me to lie to my people?" he asked. "No, the man said, pulling out a flash drive. "We want you to forget." Traoré took the flash, inserted it into the projector. It wasn't just documents. It was video footage of ministers, of presidents, secretly meeting in Geneva, secret payments, promises. Some were recorded laughing about how Africa would never know the difference. Traoré's fist tightened. The man stood. "We own your future, Captain. You can either live in our system or die outside it." As he walked out, Traoré whispered, "I don't fear death. I fear a silent people." That evening, a storm hit Burkina Faso. Wind bent trees. Thunder shook the roads. But outside the presidential compound, someone stood at the gates, alone, soaked to the skin. A guard approached. "Child, go home." But she didn't move. She held up a plastic-covered envelope. Inside was a drawing of Captain Traoré standing in front of a classroom, handing books to children instead of holding a gun. And a note. "If you give up, I don't know who else to believe in." It was Mariama, the same girl whose first letter had gone viral. She had walked barefoot for 2 days through flooded villages just to deliver it. Traoré came to the gate himself. When he saw her, he bent down. His voice cracked. "I'm not giving up. Not today." He carried her inside, wrapped her in a coat. That night, the photo of Traoré holding the soaked little girl broke the internet. No caption, no politics, just truth. In response, thousands of African children started drawing their version of a better Africa. And Traoré? He made one quiet phone call to the one leader he had never trusted before. What he said next would change everything. Captain Ibrahim Traoré picked up a secure line and dialed a number he once swore he'd never call. It rang once, then twice. Then a voice said, "You must be desperate." It was the president of Rwanda. Tensions between them had been quietly growing for years. Different philosophies, different paths. But this wasn't about ego anymore. It was about survival. "I have proof. Phoenix is real," Traoré said. "I've seen the documents," the man replied calmly. There was a pause. Traoré continued, "They're coming after our youth, not with bombs, but with fake scholarships, tech takeovers, brainwashing. They want to rewrite what Africa means." "And what do you want from me?" the voice asked. Traoré didn't hesitate. "Truth. Unity. Backup. One voice." After a long silence, the Rwandan president spoke softly. "If you fall, they'll come for me next. You have my word." That evening, a joint African statement was secretly drafted. Only 7 presidents agreed to sign it at first. But the 8th signature would soon come from the most unexpected country of all, and it would flip the global conversation overnight. In the heart of the Sahel, near a small military outpost in northern Mali, a letter arrived. No envelope, no stamp, just dust, dirt, and a piece of folded paper. The soldiers handed it to a journalist who had come to document life under siege. She read it aloud on her live stream. "We have no water, no light, but we have hope. We heard what Traoré said, and we believe him. Even if our leaders betray us, we won't. Africa is not just a place, it's our mother, and we don't let mothers bleed alone." It wasn't signed by a president, not by a general, but by 300 teenage boys, most of them orphans, living in abandoned schools turned into shelters. The video of the journalist crying as she read the note went viral across Africa within minutes. Traoré saw it too. He stared at the screen, hands trembling. He turned to his press director. "Prepare the stage." "What stage, sir?" Traoré looked into the storm outside and said, "I'm about to tell the whole world what they were never meant to hear." The next day, Captain Ibrahim Traoré stood behind a wooden podium. No gold seals, no flags, just truth and conviction. The camera lights came on. Every major global media outlet was watching. He held up a file. "This is Operation Phoenix," he said, voice steady. He opened it. Page after page of intercepted intelligence, photos, voice transcripts, confidential contracts. The plan was simple: infiltrate African governments, destabilize economies, create debt dependency, and reclaim control. Quietly. "They call it a partnership," Traoré said. "But in private meetings they call it recolonization 3.0. He paused, then played a secret audio clip recorded during a summit in Brussels. In it, a high-level official laughed. "We'll feed them aid, give them devices, and own their future without firing a single shot." Silence. Then outrage. Social media melted. Millions began hashtagging, "Africa will not kneel." But Traoré wasn't finished. "Let me be clear," he said, looking into the lens. "This is not anti-West. This is pro-dignity. We want peace, but we will not bow." Outside the building, crowds had gathered in silence, hands over hearts. And far away in Geneva, a powerful man smashed his glass against the wall. Because Traoré had just broken the global script. Just after the global broadcast, Traoré's convoy was scheduled to leave the National Palace. But something felt wrong. The road was too quiet. Even the air felt heavier. His head of security, Captain Soma, tapped his earpiece twice. No signal. Suddenly, from a nearby rooftop, a glint of metal. A sniper. But before the trigger was pulled, a soldier tackled the assassin from behind, breaking his arm and grabbing the rifle. Inside the car, Traoré was calm. He didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped out, walked past his guards, and stood in front of the crowd now gathering. He looked directly into the nearest phone camera. This is how scared they are. Of words. Not weapons. Not armies. Just truth. That clip alone reached 18 million views in 6 hours. But behind the scenes, an international private military group was named Black Aegis. They'd been spotted moving near African borders. Off the books, no country claiming them. Someone had paid for Traoré's silence, and even more terrifying, Mariama had gone missing. Traoré's heart broke in private, but his next move would shake not just Africa, but the entire UN. Because now, he had nothing left to lose. Burkina Faso's representative at the UN stepped aside. Traoré had requested a rare direct address, normally impossible for a sitting head of state with no formal agenda. But something changed after the leaked assassination attempt. The world wanted to hear him speak. The UN floor was silent as Traoré entered. No notes, no papers. Just his eyes, heavy, tired, but burning with conviction. He looked at every delegate and said, "We don't want pity. We want partnership. We don't need saving. We need you to stop killing our future quietly." He clicked a remote. Behind him, the screens displayed photos of missing children, journalists, teachers, faces erased by economic wars and debt traps. He pointed to one photo, Mariama. "This girl believed in us. She is missing, and some of you in this room know exactly why." The room gasped. Security tried to end the speech, but before the mic was cut, Traoré shouted, "Africa is done whispering. If you silence us here, we'll speak from the streets, from the soil, from the grave, if we must." Silence, then a clap, then another, and then standing ovations from unexpected corners. But not everyone clapped. One Western diplomat quietly sent a message, "Get rid of him." Back in Burkina Faso, Mariama's mother, Awa, sat outside a clinic, clutching a torn shoe and a piece of cardboard. Her daughter's shoe. She hadn't slept in 2 days. She hadn't eaten in 1. A small crowd gathered around her. Some offered food, others offered silence. She didn't want either. "I gave birth to her in a tent," she whispered. "She was born with nothing, but she believed in someone." She pointed at a giant photo of Traoré on a nearby wall. She believed in him. Tears streamed down her face. She didn't care about the cameras. She just screamed, "Bring my daughter home." Within hours, the clip spread like wildfire. Traoré saw it, alone, in the dark, and for the first time he cried, not as a leader, but as a man who had seen too much. He gave one command: find her, no matter what, no matter where. A small group of volunteers, students, and even retired soldiers formed a movement. Mariama must come home. But the world was now watching, and time was running out. 4 days after Mariama disappeared, the search had gone cold. Until a shepherd boy named Abdoulaye, just 11 years old, spotted something strange in the forest near Kaya. A piece of cloth, Mariama's pink dress, caught on a thorn. He ran back, breathless. No one believed him, until he held up her drawing, the same one seen across the world. The villagers formed a human chain, flashlights and phones in hand. 3 hours later, deep inside a hollowed-out concrete shed, they found her. Curled up, weak, but alive. Her voice was hoarse, but she whispered one word: Traoré. The villagers cried. Some dropped to their knees. Mariama was carried on the shoulders of farmers, nurses, and teachers. The footage of her rescue played across the continent like wildfire. When Traoré saw it, he stood still, then walked out onto the palace balcony. No speech. He just held up the little shoe they had once found. Millions watching on live streams wept. The child the world almost forgot had returned. But now, Africa was awake. And the enemies of truth? They were scared. A week later, a rare emergency African sovereignty summit was held, this time without Western observers. Traoré walked into the room, greeted by leaders once divided by years of suspicion. They all stood. No formal vote was needed. One by one, they placed their national flags beside Burkina Faso's, a gesture of unity not seen since the era of Thomas Sankara. The hall fell silent. Traoré stepped to the center. "This isn't about me, or one child, or one file," he said. "This is about a continent that has spent 400 years being told it cannot stand." He turned slowly to face each president. "This is our final moment of silence. After today, we speak." A declaration was signed. The Coalition for African Integrity, and with it, a new code. No foreign contracts without full transparency. No hidden military bases. No aid without consent. Some foreign diplomats stormed out. But Africa remained calm, because for the first time in decades, they were no longer afraid to be loud. And far beyond those walls, children were watching. Because this time, they had proof that courage could win. The sun was setting over Ouagadougou. Orange skies, children laughing in the distance. Captain Ibrahim Traoré sat outside with Mariama, now healthy again. She wore a white dress and held a gift box. She handed it to him, smiling shyly. Inside was her drawing, updated. This time it showed Traoré standing with children of every African country. Behind him, no tanks, no weapons, just books, farms, flags, and mothers smiling. "I drew the future," she said. Traoré's eyes watered. He put his hand on her head and whispered, "Then let's protect it. Together." The screen fades to black. A final message appears. The enemies of truth will always fear voices that don't shake. But today, Africa spoke, and the world had no choice but to listen. My friend, if this story moved you even a little, if you felt Mariama's pain, if you stood with Traoré's courage, if your heart broke and healed in these 18 chapters, then please, like this video to show you believe Africa deserves truth. Comment with one word that describes how this story made you feel. Subscribe so we can keep telling the stories they don't want you to hear. Because the more we speak, the more they listen. And this is only the beginning.